Joining me now to talk about what the new Congress is planning to do to address these woke ESG policies is the great Arkansas Congressman, the wonderful French Hill. He serves on the most powerful committee in Congress, the House Financial Services Committee. French, good to see you. So what is the Congress going to do? You're going to take control on January 3rd. This is a huge issue that I know is burning for a lot of House members and especially on financial services. What are you guys going to do to push back on this ESG phenomenon that's taken over investing in America?
Sean, great to be with you. It's such an important question, and Attorney General Moody is on the front lines in the states. Many states are taking this on because when you have this kind of woke ESG mentality in pension fund management, who's hurt? State retirees, state teachers are the ones who are hurt by this approach. What we're doing in House Republicans and House Senators working together is we're pushing back on the SEC. We've reminded Chair Gensler that it's the Securities and Exchange Commission to protect investors and promote efficient markets. It's not the Securities and Environment Commission. We want him to make sure he follows the law and that he does not impose new mandates on environmental standards on our public companies. This will constrain capital, hurt jobs, hurt U.S. growth, and make us less competitive.
You know, do you think on the oversight front, I mean, I do agree with you. Gary Gensler has been absolutely absent here and actually supports these policies. But I think it's important to bring in CEOs, whether it's a CEO of BlackRock, Larry Fink, or others, to say, you know what, I want you to address the American people in the Congress to talk about these policies and how they are so beneficial to the American people. And you can then point out how damaging these are for the return on investments for the American people.
I think it is important for corporate America to speak up here and speak out because, Sean, you hit the nail on the head. A lot of people don't even know what we're talking about. Environmental, social governance, ESG. The average American doesn't even know what that is. But if I told you it was going to reallocate capital and make your gasoline and fuel for your home more expensive, make food more expensive, and impose mandates, not that Congress wants, but that woke money managers in New York, combined with Biden regulators want, you'd get the point. So we believe that we'd have to have an all-front war pushing back against the Department of Labor that sets up rules on how pension funds are managed. We want them to look at economic interest, as the Attorney General just talked about. And we want to push back on the SEC and bank regulators that are going to try to not allocate capital to all legal businesses. But you're right. CEOs need to speak up because they know this is wrong. They're being disadvantaged and their company's strategies are being disadvantaged. And they need to carry that message to the institutional investors like BlackRock in New York, as well as to the regulatory community.
You know, French, I think a lot of Americans sit back and go, what happened to corporate America? They've become so woke over the course of the last 5 and 10 years. And I think the answer is this ESG movement where you have money managers that take a conservative family's money and use that money to push policies on corporate America through your investment dollars. And that's why you're seeing this hard turn to the left, is because trillions of dollars are being used, not just of liberal money, but of conservative money too, and getting these companies to change how they do business. Maybe case in point is Disney.
Well, Disney may be a good example. I think that was certainly brought to light in the state of Florida action. But look at the vast majority of companies. Look at Google, look at Apple. These are two widely held stocks. They may be perceived as, quote, liberal companies by some, but they, in their proxies, push back against these woke proposals, saying vote no.
Good point.
And yet at the same time, they're not saying that to BlackRock and other institutional investors. So I see hypocrisy here on the hands of some in corporate America. And that's why I urge all CEOs to speak up for common sense. And let's get back to rational economic policy for running our businesses and for making investment decisions.
French, before I let you go, I want to turn to the disgraced FTX founder, Sam Bankman-Fried. What do you think is going to happen to him here? Obviously, he was released on $250 million bond, was sent to his parents' house out in California. Other big thieves haven't been treated this way. Madoff is a perfect example. He sat in jail, but this young kid who's given, $40 million to Democrats now gets to go home. What's going to happen with Bankman-Fried?
Well, look, you're a great prosecuting attorney from Wisconsin. I don't think you've ever seen a personal recognizance bond set at $250 million. It's unprecedented. And the judge who made that ruling has now recused herself because it turns out her own husband was working for FTX. So I hope when this hearing is next week in the Southern District of New York, we get some light on what the government's prosecution is and what Sam Bankman-Fried's direction is, or whether he's going to be held continued on house arrest or if he's going to spend time in jail. This is the largest fraud in American history. It dwarfs Madoff, and over 1 million people were listed in the bankruptcy filing as potential creditors. Think about that, 1 million people.
$8 billion, I mean, a massive amount of money. What concerns me as the Southern District pressed charges the day before Bankman-Fried was going to testify before Congress. I wonder why. Not only did we have the release on bond as another issue, and I look at Gary Gensler. You brought him up earlier, the chair of the SEC. And this guy was the guy who said, "I'm the cop on the street on crypto. I'm the one who controls crypto and crypto regulation." But here he missed Bankman-Fried completely, had meetings in private with him, but didn't do anything in regard to regulation and allowed this fraud to happen with the American people. Hopefully the Congress is going to hold him accountable as well.
We will hold him accountable. We want both the CFTC, the Commodities Future Trading Commission, and the SEC heads both to testify in Congress on what they knew, how many times they met with Sam Bankman-Fried or his associates, and why action was not taken to protect American investors even when part of this entity was offshore. John Ray, the bankruptcy CEO now of FTX, basically testified before Congress there was no difference between FTX US and FTX in the Bahamas. So this big fraud, in my view, we should have had that cop on the beat. This is something that Gary Gensler has bragged about, that he's the cop on the beat. We're going to invite him up to testify.
I love it. French Hill, the smartest guy on the House Financial Services Committee. Thank you for